This is a question I'm getting asked maybe more than any other, except for how to play this game right now. And the answer is move to New Zealand. And that is which pack you should be opening. And this is a great question because you have the option of Pikachu, Charizard, or Mewtwo in the Genetic Apex set. And there are some huge differences between them. And especially if you are a free-to-play player or you're paying for the premium pass, but that's it. That's only 3 packs a day at that point, or 2 packs a day if you're free to play. And you need to make some pretty big decisions as to what kind of decks you are interested in building. I'm going to talk to you in this video about some things that I think are, I wouldn't say meta because the game's been out for like a week, but I mean things that are particularly good, but also some routes that make a lot of sense for building decks later on as well. So come along with me, Jake, your resident content cowboy here. Yeehaw, as I break down the best decks to open in Genetic Apex and why. Best packs. Did I say decks? Packs. For this, I'm going to head on over to PokeZone. I really have been loving this site. Shout out to them. And we're going to take a look at Genetic Apex as well as the 3 specific packs that you can open inside Pokemon TCG Pocket. Pikachu, Charizard, and Mewtwo. There are 226 cards, 60 rare counterparts, which are pack specific, and then there are a few things that are not pack specific. So the crown rares and Mew, these are not pack specific. For Mew, you've got to be able to complete the collection. For Charizard, Pikachu, and Mewtwo EX, these are also not pack specific. You could get a crown rare Mewtwo EX in a Charizard pack and vice versa. So let's take a look at these packs here and see what the differences are between them. We might as well start with the game's mascot, and that is Pikachu. So in the Pikachu pack, you have the Caterpie line into Butterfree, you have Parasect, you have Arcanine EX. These are all cards that I haven't seen a ton of. I don't see a ton of Arcanine. I don't see a ton of Butterfree, although people are building more and more interesting decks as the game continues. You, of course, have some big ones. You have Blastoise, which I know a lot of people are excited for. My favorite Pokemon of all time is Squirtle, so of course I was excited to make some Blastoise decks. You have Dugong Seadra. Seadra's pretty cool. Seadra is a Pokemon that lets you attack Pokemon on your opponent's bench and do a decent amount of damage to them, or the Pokemon right in front of you. You've also got a big one here, which is Gyarados. A lot of people love this Gyarados deck. You play a Misty, which we'll talk about here. You could charge this up very fast to do insane damage. You, of course, have Pikachu and Raichu. Pikachu EX, and as you would expect, Charizard EX is in Charizard, Mewtwo EX is in Mewtwo. You've got a lot of fun electric choices right here, or as TCG calls it, lightning. I refuse to understand that. You have Zapdos EX, which is a very, very good card. And then you have a few psychic types, Clefairy, Clefable, Drowsy. Moving through, you have the Golem and Onix, so you kind of have the Brock line, which I have to be honest, I don't love Brock. I've tried it a few times, it just hasn't really clicked with me. You also have Nidoqueen and Nidoking, as well as Wigglytuff EX. I think Wigglytuff EX is a really cool card. You've got Eevee, Chansey, Snorlax, which are all nice. I'm not in love with Nidoqueen, Nidoking. I feel like it takes a little while to get online, but again, this isn't only about balance, right? This isn't only about finding the best deck ever. These are just things that you need to keep in mind. If you're interested in these kind of decks, this is where you find them. You've got Misty and Brock. So I think a big consideration, probably the biggest consideration, is the main chase cards in the set, which I'll talk about, as well as the supporter cards that you can pull. Misty is an extremely good, but extremely high RNG card. So what Misty does is kind of break the game depending on what happens with it. Misty, you choose one of your water Pokemon, Gyarados, Blastoise, Articuno, whatever, and you flip coins. The number of heads you get is the number of water energy you put on it. You can literally win a game in 1 round with this card. It is kind of dumb. Not even kind of dumb. It's fully dumb. Brock, on the other hand, just puts 1 energy onto Golem or Onix. Like, the balance between these two is insane. Misty sets up crazy games. Brock is very specific and probably more in line with what Misty should be anyway. We could take a look at some of the beautiful full art cards that you're seeing right here. Again, if you're really interested in Pikachu, you've already got your answer there. I think a lot of people are going to be looking at this set for a few things. Pikachu, Zapdos, Misty, Gyarados. Those are the big ones in this set for me. If I'm really interested in playing those cards, I would be pulling from Pikachu. Let's talk a little bit about Mewtwo. Mewtwo's got some heavy hitters in it. They've got the Venusaur line into Venusaur EX. You've got some bugs, right? Beedrill, Venomoth, Scyther. You have Sandlit Salazzle, which is cool in some fire decks. We've got Tentacruel. I haven't played a lot with Tentacruel or Cloyster, Kingler. A huge card it has, like a massive card, is Articuno. Articuno EX is extremely good. I feel like well, they're all the legendary birds are really good, honestly. Articuno EX is fantastic. Moltres makes a really I mean, they're all great, but Articuno EX is a great card, and it fits into so many water decks. We've got Electros, which is a fun electric deck. Now, we've got some of the ones that you're probably pulling this pack for. Gengar, really fun card. Gengar EX, I think, is really, really great. Then we've got the big reason, Mewtwo EX and Gardevoir. Mewtwo EX and Gardevoir are kind of a match made in heaven. This is the typical Mewtwo EX deck features these two Pokemon. So you've got Mewtwo EX, you have 2 copies of it. Then you've got 2 full lines of routes to Gardy, right? And the ability on Gardevoir to just power up the Pokemon in the active slot with Psychic Energy sets up Mewtwo EX to just sweep enemy teams. This is a great combination, and if you're looking at playing Mewtwo, again, there's no other way to go. And the nice thing here is if you're looking to play Mewtwo EX, you've got Gardevoir in this pack, so you're able to set up that combination. Again, it's extremely popular and very, very good. We've got Marowak EX in here, which is fun, but really high RNG dependent, right? It's just you're flipping coins to do damage. You've got one of my favorite things here. So we got Zubat, Golbat, Grimer, Muck, Fine, Coughing Wheezing. Oh, I love Coughing Wheezing. It's so good, especially with a supporter we'll talk about later. We also have the Dragonite line and Pidgeot line. Oh, really cool lines all around in Mewtwo. I really, really like it. A lot of people are having a ton of fun with Dragonite. It's a dual color card, and that, creates its own problems, but it also sets up some really fun strategies. You set up, a little bit of a wall so you can build up Dragonite, then you move Dragonite in, and it's kind of like hitting random enemies on the other side with huge chunks of damage. It's very fun. Pidgeot, I haven't played around enough with yet, but I've seen a few decks with it, and it's really cool. Now, the supporters in this, and again, I think the supporters you're pulling are a big reason to choose, one pack from another. They are Koga and Giovanni. So, if you're really invested in what's in this Mewtwo line, I think Koga and Giovanni are both pretty good. If you're not that invested in playing Wheezing, Coughing, or something like that, neither of these are the best supporters in the game. I think Misty has probably more value, even though it's crazy. So I can see some people not liking it. But I think the supporters in this are fine. And one of the reasons you may be picking these decks is to get good supporters like this as you're pulling. And then, of course, we have all of the full art cards that you're able to get right here. Venusaur, Cubone, Golbat. This Wheezing, I think, is really, really cool. I pulled this Gengar. It's amazing. Of course, the full art Mewtwo. We have the beautiful Articuno. So if this is what's exciting to you, if you're excited to play a Mewtwo deck, this is, of course, the only place to be. But a lot of other great options. I really like Articuno. I really like Gengar. I think Pidgeot's really cool. Also, fun stuff with Marowak and Venusaur. Now let's talk about Charizard. Now, of course, depending on what you're interested in, I feel like you could go with any of these decks, Pikachu, Mewtwo. Charizard might be what I would recommend to a lot of newer players. Again, outside of you specifically wanting Pikachu or Mewtwo, right? Executor EX, I think, is fine. It's got some power to it, but it's kind of, it's flipping a coin. Charizard, of course. I think a lot of people are going to like Char. There are a few things in this deck, in this pack, that I love. Charizard, very, very fun, and it has an easy combination with Moltres. It feels like Char and Mewtwo both have they're not the same kind of setup. They ramp up to their power level in different ways, but they both have a really fun time doing it. So Charizard is, that stage 2 card that you have to power up on your bench, whereas Mewtwo, you're kind of having Mewtwo out front and you're powering it up with a stage 2 on your bench, whereas Charizard, you're putting in a basic Pokemon, Moltres EX, to power it up with Inferno Dance. A really, really common setup that you're going to see. ability. The players start with Moltres, they get Char on the bench, they power it up, Charizard comes in and starts sweeping the enemy team. Other cards I love here, Ninetales. Love Ninetales. 2 energy, does 90 damage. It is so powerful. I love it. Poliwag, Poliwhirl, Poliwrath, I haven't really messed around with much. Now here are another like grouping of huge cards. Staryu and Starmie, fine. Starmie EX, I think is bananas good. It is an EX Pokemon, so it does cost 2 when you lose it. It only has 130 HP, but it costs 2 energy, has no retreat cost, so you're able to just play this in so many fun ways, and it does 90 damage. You get this out on the second turn of the game. It's so unbelievably powerful. You also have Lapras in this. Is the only place that you're able to grab Lapras, and Greninja. I just started playing around with Greninja yesterday because I unlocked a couple of them now, and Greninja's a really fun combination. So Charizard has so many cool things going on with it. The Char Moltres line, Starmie, Greninja, Lapras, they've got a lot of cool options here. I think their grass is like a little, it's not my favorite, right? And then we've got a fighting line with Machamp. I actually played early on when I first started playing TCG Pocket. I had a cool Machamp deck that I was messing around with, and I had a lot of fun with that. Alakazam is a really cool line. It's a pretty powerful card too that I think a lot of people are not playing yet. We also have Melmetal, which has been a really interesting card to run into. We have the fossils. Haven't spent much time with it, so I can't really speak to Kabuto and Kabutops here. Meowth helps you pull cards, which is nice. We've got Kangaskhan. It's a good setup Pokemon. And now we've got our supporters. So the big supporter here, we have Erica, Blaine, and Sabrina. Sabrina is the big supporter here. It's one of the best supporters in the game, probably outside of Professor's Research. I think it's really high up there. So Sabrina allows you to switch out your opponent's active Pokemon. They get to choose the one from the bench, but oftentimes when you're playing this, you're putting them in a situation where no matter what they choose, they're going to kind of hate their life. And this card is just so good. So if you're looking for a good supporter, I feel like Sabrina is one of the best ones, maybe the best one you can pull from a pack. And now we have the full arts here. We've got Pinsir, Lapras, which is really cool. I've got the Starmie, which I really, really love. Blaine, Sabrina, obviously. A lot of people are looking to pull this Sabrina. It's a really cool looking card. And of course, the full art Char. For new players, if you had absolutely no preference, which I don't think you're going to. I think you're gonna have a preference, but if you had absolutely no preference right here, I think Charizard would probably be what I would recommend for new players. Of course, you're not gonna have no preference. Now, being able to see all these packs, you'll have an idea of which one you think you should pull. I don't think there's one you're gonna start pulling from and feel like you really made a horrible decision and you should have picked another pack, but it's really good to know what is inside here and what you can actually get. I'll have a link to Pokezone in the description of this video, but there you go. Which pack to choose in Genetic Apex? I would love to hear from you in the comments. What do you think is the best? What are you going to focus on, or what are you focusing on right now? Thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. I love you. I'll see y'all next time. Starmie's insane. I'm just saying Starmie's insane, and it is.